Hi, I'm Chris at 9CVR. In this video, we're gonna get cooking. So welcome to a brisk, cool morning in the barn. There's about 41 degrees in here, and that's gonna play in to what we're doing today. So actually, let me make a note here. It is 41 degrees, and we're going to keep watching that throughout this test. This thing is a variable load. So, on the back side of it, really all there is heat sink. And then on the front side of it, a bunch of switches, which actually should all be off right now. There we go. Anderson power poles. And then a whole bunch of these 6 ohm, 50 watt, they're resistors. They get used for basically LED conversions in cars. So if you don't want your blinkers to sit there going, you put one of these in. So what we are going to be doing is taking the FB001 fuse block, hooking it up in here, and actually I've got a drawing over there, so I won't show you quite yet, but what I've done is I have welded the places for the fuses together, so it's essentially, I don't know what, 100 amp fuse, something like that right now. In part one of this, we saw that the fuse block blew a trace at 40 amps. So I don't expect to get up to that, but we'll see at what point we get what kind of temperature rise where that trace blew out. So the game is all of these resistors are in parallel. The heat sink is because I don't want to cook the resistors. And we just start flipping switches on one at a time until we see an unacceptable temperature rise. So this is kind of going to be a little slow. Basically, I click one switch. We wait for the temperature, which will be on this orange meter, to stabilize. Oh, looks like we're up to 43 degrees. Interesting. There we go. We wait for the temperature on here to stabilize, and then we click the next one. Now, that being said, I've got a spreadsheet going here, and we should see, I don't know, about 11.5 amps, it says, when 5 switches are on. I actually already did that test because turns out my 991A can put out about 11.5 amps. I did the same thing with thermocouple and got like only a couple degrees temperature rise. So I don't want to sit here waiting for all of these. I'm just going to have 5 switches on. That's how we're going to start. We're going to see what kind of temperature rise it is. It should be only a couple degrees, and then move on from there. Before I get started with the test, let me show you the setup. So there's my laptop collecting data, and that's a manual process. Here's my little variable load that I built. We're going to have this meter reading off a thermocouple off the trace on the fuse block, which I will show you in just a second. This one's just reading ambient temperature. This is 13.8 volts coming in out of, I don't know if you can see through the window, there's my car. So we're going to be running the car and getting 12 volts out of there. Just a quick look at the fuse block while we're waiting for it to dry. I basically just glued a tiny little thermocouple there in that trace where it liked to blow up last time. So that's where we're going to be measuring the temperature. Just a little bit of a close-up view of the top end of this. So basically I just took some 12 gauge wire and soldered it there. So 12 gauge wire, trying to remember my wire charts now, ampacity charts. I want to say it will hold like 85 amps, something like that, in perfect conditions. So definitely more than what the fuse block is going to be able to handle. This has been indoors for a little while, so we're waiting for that temperature there to drop. But as soon as it drops, we'll start. So we've waited a while and we're within a bit of a degree, so call that good. Again, I'm going to flip the first 5 of these on, wait 5 minutes, see what kind of temperature rise we get, and then go from there. If it still continues to rise, I'll just keep waiting. Kind of wondering whether those resistors will get warm, and if they do, how warm. We'll see. All right, we got up to about 63 degrees there, so let's run some more, see what happens. Yeah, those are starting to get hot to the touch. Heatsink's doing its job though. One of these guys just beeped, so that means it wants to turn off. So I'm just gonna change the setting on it, change it back, and change from C to F. Same thing over here. There we go, just to keep them from dying. Getting a little warm back there. In fact, I can feel it here. Gosh, this is actually kind of nice. Maybe I should just leave it like it is. No, it's getting a little warm, so I just threw a computer fan back there just to get a little bit of air movement, cool things down a little bit. I don't at all like what that did to my temperature readings, so actually we're not going to do that unless I can figure out some way to kind of shield this so that we know what temperature we're getting. See if that drops any. So we're just gonna let it run, get hot, and oh well. It is 10:05, but right now I wanna make sure that that stabilizes out. So I'm gonna let it run a little longer, wait for this to stabilize out, and then I'll take my data. Okay, something I'm a little concerned about. I put my hand here and I can feel heat radiating off of here, so I think that's affecting that temperature. I do kind of want to try to insulate this. Maybe if I just put bubble wrap over it and then this failed project here. And I turn the fan on. We'll see how much it drops. I don't feel any air movement down there, so that might be good. We'll see. All right, I'm going to call this data here. Let me write down that happened at 10:12. And then we are going to move on to the next one. What I just turned on, we're giving it 18.4 amps. So we'll see what happens. Already I'm a lot more comfortable with, we're seeing a temperature rise, so that's a good thing. I was a little nervous, the air's still getting under here and blowing this all off and all of that, but no, we're seeing a few degrees temperature rise, so I think we're good. Not pretty, but good. And we're getting another beep from here. We're getting another beep. There we go from here. So I'm gonna do my little thing here, change it to hertz, back to degrees C, back to degrees F. And flip that one. We should be good to continue. That now is 20.7 amps. This seems to have been stabilizing nicely, so I'm just going to leave this setup and wait another 5 minutes and see what happens. And if you want to cook an egg, feel free. This now brings us up to 23 amps. We'll give it another 5 minutes and see what happens. Convenient. There we go. I just flipped this guy on, I believe. Yeah, we should have, or should be on 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, perfect. So we're on number 11. Things are going well. Heat sink's still nice and warm if you want to cook that egg. We're at 90-ish degrees, and right now we are running 25.3 amps. All right, Here we are at 27.5 roughly amps. So 91 degrees on the thermocouple. Notice that this temperature is going up, so we're going to have to do a little bit of adjusting for actual temperature rise later. I'll just kind of assume it's rising linearly and see what happens. Alright, at this point we are now, for all intents and purposes, running 30 amps through the fuse block. $32.2 amps right now. Definitely gonna have to do a little bit of temperature correction, that's for sure. It's risen most of, what's that, 7-ish degrees. But we're still at a little bit of a body fever temperature, so it's not too shabby. At this point, I'd like to kind of remind you, yes, you can buy these ATM fuses. Oh, let me do this quick. There we go. Yes, you can buy these ATM fuses in more than 30 amps, but the only place I've ever seen them is Amazon. If you look at like Little Fuse or Busman or any of the reputable names, they don't make them any higher than 30 amps. So that kind of makes me go, maybe you shouldn't be running the Amazon ones. The highest I think I've ever seen an ATM fuse was about 35 amps, if I remember right. So we're in that territory. At this point, we are basically just waiting for this to cook. We're torture testing it. So stick around and we'll see what happens. $34.5 amps now. At some point, kind of what I'm expecting is that temperature is going to start climbing kind of fast. So it'll be interesting to see at what point that happens. All right, I had to write that down quick. I think we're starting to see that temperature rise I was talking about. We just jumped about 10 degrees within a few amps, so this may well be our last round. We are currently running at 36.8 amps, so yeah, if you're running an amplifier or something through the fuse block, it's probably what you're looking at. All right, there we are at 39.1 amps. You can start to see the temperature is definitely climbing. Yeah, we'll see what blows up at this point. It's been almost 5 minutes, but that's still rising a little, so I think I'm gonna let it sit a little longer and see what it stabilizes to. That seemed to really stabilize at 132 or so, no, sorry, 131.5, that's what it was. No, sorry. I can't read 132. So I just clicked the next one on. We are running 39.1 amps through here. I, at this point, have a fire extinguisher nearby. This could go bad, but everything's running so far. Everything's good. Obviously, the fuse block is getting hot. You do not want this kind of heat out of the fuse block. This is not a point at which I would recommend running this fuse block, but here it is. While I think of it, let me turn on the hold function. I'm expecting at some point we're going to blow another trace, and I would like to see what the temperature gets to when that happens. Obviously, we're not going to use the hold function, so maybe let's try the max. There we go. We'll run the max. See what it does. Still rising, so. All right, we've now been doing this for 9 minutes, so I'm going to call that good. Next one, I'm starting to get nervous. $43.7 amps right now going through the fuse block. Just want to be able to see if anything happens. One thing I am noticing, so I conformal coated this. It is basically I just used nail polish that works surprisingly well as a conformal coating, actually. I'm starting to smell acetone, so stuff is heating up for sure. This is not good. Let's say it that way. Looks like we have stabilized at 163 degrees. We have one switch left. Do I do it? Yeah, we're gonna do it. I just like to take this opportunity here to say I am blown away. See what I did there? That we haven't popped that trace yet. We are currently sitting at 46 amps through the FB001. Obviously, temperature is rising. This is definitely not something you would want to be doing through your fuse block. In no way would I recommend it. but it hasn't exploded yet. I'm kind of shocked. Sorry, all of these electrical puns. The other thing I actually wanted to get for this test, and there's not really a good way to do it, is, well, there wasn't a good way for me to get my hands on it, is a thermal camera. It would be really interesting to see because these are 45 amp power poles and we're running 46 amps through them. So it would be very interesting to see what else on the board at this point is getting hot. I'm shocked that that trace is still holding, but other stuff on this board cannot be happy at this point. One thing I want to do really quick before this test is over is just see what voltage we're getting. The car is putting out 13.8. What are we seeing? Looks like 11.96, we'll call it. All right, we're, yeah, well, I guess we just had a little more temperature rise. Well, let's watch this a little longer. False alarm. Something is obviously not happy. So we're just gonna let it sit for a little while and see what happens. I'm pretty sure we're watching it die here, so I'm just gonna let it keep running and record the temperature every minute. All right, well, it's been a couple minutes and seems to have been stabilized or stable at this, so we're gonna call this the test. Shut her down and then post-op on this, see how it did. All right, so here's what we had. It's back to 68 point something degrees. I put a piece of masking tape over it, or electrical tape, to try to hold it down. Here's the thermocouple. Just all the crap that I tried to glue it down with. And let's take a look at this. That is not good lighting, so let us try this. So there's the damage. Boy, this lighting is not great. But it seemed to wreak all sorts of havoc on the conformal coat. You see how it's turned all yellow and all of that. But other than that, I'm going to have to try to remove some of this conformal coat and see how it looks like underneath, but I think we're actually kind of okay. Which blows my mind. So if you would like some of these, see some more discoloration on the conformal over there, but if you would like some of these, check out the link in the description. It will handle any reputable ATM fuse. So that's pretty cool from my book. But of course it would be because I made them. If you like this, feel free to hit the like button. Any questions, or if you feel like I need to do more torture testing, let me know. I'd love to hear in the comments below. Subscribe if you want more of this, and we'll see you on the next video. 73.